you can now get Odyssey's most premium putter at a new lower price point. So just how well will it perform? Let's go find out. There are 7 different head types in this range, which is really nice because we get a good mixture of smaller, more blade styles, and then mid-size and big mallets. Now I've got the Las Vegas model here, which is kind of like a 7 shape in, and it is really nice in terms of sizing. It's interesting because it's probably not something I would typically go for if I was picking off a list, but actually when you put this down, it looks really nice behind the golf ball. Now, a big thing that stands out to me with this is that the colouring is slightly different from previous Toulons. It's a little bit darker, and I actually really like that behind the ball. And one thing, because the finish is a little bit darker, those white sight lines and alignment lines really jump out a bit more, which I think is definitely going to help in terms of alignment. Now this range does offer a mixture of hosels as well, which is really important. So you can go for more the single bend, which I've got here, which is more face balanced. That typically suits me because I have a straighter stroke. But if you're someone who has a bit more arc, wants a bit more face rotation, you're probably better going for something with a bit more toe hang, such as more of a short slant neck. Now that's really important when you're looking at picking a putter, because it's really going to make a lot of difference in terms of your start direction and just making you be more consistent. It's also quite interesting because you can kind of fix or help out different putting strokes by changing the type of putter someone is using. So say someone is constantly missing to the right, maybe their face isn't shutting up and kind of starting that putt straight. If you move to something with more toe hang, it's going to give you a little bit more face rotation, so you should start those putts more on line. If you're looking the other way, you're someone who starts your putts too far left because you're over-rotating the face, maybe moving to a face balance putter is going to help that out. So really going through a fitting process with someone and looking at what's best for your stroke and what's going to help your tendencies is really important. I really like the way this rolls. Feels like it has a really good forward roll in it, and it also feels really consistent. Definitely feels a little bit faster off the face maybe than some of the models, but it's quite nice. You don't really feel like you have to hit it to get to the hole. I think there's an important bit on the technology here. We've got 2 weights in the front of this, one in the heel, one in the toe. So that's going to give you a little bit more forgiveness, but importantly, because it's at the front, that's going to help you roll. With a putter, the more weight you get back, the higher the ball's going to launch. It's going to pop up off the ground and bobble. You're not going to get as a consistent roll as quickly. So having that weight forward is really going to help in terms of getting that true roll quickly, and just that's going to help you in terms of both your roll, your distance, but also your start line as well. So you've probably noticed we've got the Stroke Lab shaft in here as well, so you're going to help the stroke in terms of consistency with that different weight in here. But one thing to note about this is you shouldn't really be cutting these down because you're going to affect the balance of the putter. So for me, this is 35 inches, it's slightly longer. So it's really important to make sure you get the right length and don't try starting to cut it down like you could do with a typical steel shaft. So obviously for your longer putts, distance is really going to be more important in terms of overall performance than maybe start line. So a lot of the face technology here is going to help. Not only does this kind of diamond pattern help with that feel, it reduces vibration, so it's going to feel nicer. We also have a deep cut pattern here that's going to get that forward roll happening quicker. Now what's really nice to see here from a consistency standpoint is if I take a look at the data we're picking up from TrackMan, the ball speed and kind of the percentage of true roll is really consistent. So it's up in the high 80% for how much of the putt is true roll compared to skid. So I'd be really happy with that. Obviously we're going to get a little bit more skid at this time of year because, I mean, it's February in England. The greens aren't perfect, although the greens here at Malvern Norton are really good for this time of year. Also, what's really pleasing to see in terms of launch direction, that has also been really consistent so far. So consistency is really what you're looking for with a new putter. You want something that's repeatable and that you can take out on the golf course really nicely. So for me, from that point, this is performing really well so far. Now I'd say personally for me, if there was one thing I'd like to tweak, the head does feel a little bit light, but this is actually customizable this time, so these two weights in the bottom can be adjusted, so you can move between kind of 5 and 20 grams of weight in here, so that's going to be really nice to dial in that feel and that weight and have it how you want it. Now, after my first I was just kind of adjusting to the pace, I'd definitely be really happy with those last 3 putts. I mean, they're so consistent, there's literally barely a foot between them. Now, for a lot of golfers, holing out is an area where we could really make a significant improvement. And I think people don't really realise the importance of aim here. Because if you're aiming the putter outside the hole, the chance of you holing the putt is pretty minimal, right? You're going to have to adjust your stroke, kind of pull or push it to get the ball to go in the hole, which obviously is not consistent over time. So testing out different alignment features on the top of putters is really key because people see straight different ways. So for me, I really like a line that comes all the way to the front of the club. Some people hate that. Some people don't even like a line, they prefer a dot. So really you want to go and test different options here, but I think that's a nice thing about this range. There are different kind of alignment features on each model. Now I use a line over the ball, so I quite like the fact that I can match this up to the line on the putter. I also like the 2 lines down the side because they frame the golf ball and really make sure that I've got that ball in the middle of the putter. Now, one of the best ways you can actually test this is just to kind of set up over a putt and then get someone to come in, take the golf ball out and put a little laser in front and see where it's pointing. Now, it's quite easy to do this. You can get these fairly cheap from places like B&Q, and it's a really good way of visually seeing where you're pointing the golf club, because if you can't get it in the middle of that cup, that's really not going to help you out. So do that with a few different models would be my advice, and see which one you point different. So does one kind of style make you aim left? Does one make you aim right? What can you do to really dial in that alignment to get in the middle of the hole? Now really the final thing in terms of customization is you can obviously change the grip. This is more of a kind of smaller standard pistol size grip, but there are bigger overstyle options. I definitely prefer a slightly larger grip. It just feels like I can grip the club more stably. So different options there, and again that is really important in terms of how you can grip the club the best to get the most consistency. You know, overall I've been really impressed with the performance here. And it's quite surprising because I've been using kind of an insert putter for a while, and typically probably for me it wouldn't be the first putter I'd pick off the shelf, both in terms of the shaping and the milled face, but I've really liked the performance. Obviously this is a high-end quality product. It looks like that and it looks gorgeous, both the face milling and over the golf ball, but also the performance benefits are really there. I'm really impressed with this kind of forward CG. I really like that way, the way that rolls in terms of consistency. And we do know from the data that kind of pace and roll is so important in terms of your overall putting. Really for amateurs, the biggest thing in terms of improving your putting, obviously holing a few kind of shorter putts, kind of inside that 6 foot range. But after that, it's really just avoiding 3 putts. So having good pace control, which comes from being able to roll the ball well, and consistency is really important. So from that standpoint, this has been really good. I mean, we saw it in the data consistently. We were up there at nearly the 90% in terms of how much forward roll there was on the putt. So I'd be really happy with that. Outside of that, I really like the overall balancing and the feel we get from the Stroke Lab shaft. And I think that feeds into the consistency and the pace control too. I really like the fact that we've got this customization option on the bottom, so you really can dial in how heavy you want that club head to feel, which I think is really important for a lot of golfers. Overall, it was quite interesting for me to see how well this shape performed, and especially these alignment aids. I do know that for me, I'm best with a line that's kind of at the front of the club, but it's quite interesting to try a different shape out that you wouldn't normally pick and realise how well it works. So I think that shows how you should be kind of a bit open to testing new things and really trying different models out. Right, that's all for today. If you have any questions about any of the Toulon models or any of the new Odyssey putters for this year, feel free to drop them in the comments below or drop me a line on Twitter or Instagram. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications too. And if you're after more golf content, head to the National Club Golfer social media channels for more.